AITA for not adopting my dying best friend's dog and buying a puppy from a breeder instead? My best friend is dying of cancer. He could pass away any moment. Today, I was visiting and showed him a picture of the German Shepherd puppy I just put a security deposit on. It will be ready to take home in 4 weeks. I've always wanted a German Shepherd puppy, so I was excited to show him the pictures, and I thought, maybe the pictures would bring him at least a moment of joy, even if the moment was fleeting. But instead of sharing my excitement, things became awkward. After a few minutes of awkwardness, I asked him what was wrong. I was blindsided by his response. He said that his cousin, who was supposed to take his 2-year-old pug named Horace, could no longer take him and I could save a lot of money by taking his dog. I looked over at Horace and he looked back at me. Well, he tried to look at me, but he's got one wondering eye that pretty much is always looking towards the ceiling. I could feel his glare with his good eye though. Horace is not a good dog. This is not me being unsole. This is simply me knowing Horace. Little hit, and on top of that, he hits in the house and he tears stuff up. He's always yapping. He's always wanting something. He doesn't even know what he wants. He literally just wants to want something. Non-stop. He was never properly trained. Overall, I'm not a fan of the pug dog breed. Their faces look it's been hit with a shovel. They are always gasping for air with their eyes out as if they are stranded without a space helmet in the Martian atmosphere. I told my friend, no thank you. But I will try to help you find him a good home. Really? He says. Are you effing kidding me? You've known Horace since he was a puppy. I know, that's why I don't want him. He's just not a good. Wow. You are such an asshole. My friend says, so, am I? AITA for blowing up on my son's girlfriend? My husband thinks I'm in the right, but my niece helped me make this post on here to see what other people think. I, 52F, have 3 sons ages ranging from 13 to 20. My oldest son, 20M, has a girlfriend, 19F, that hangs around our house a lot. It's a really small house and doesn't have a lot of space. She's a nice girl but gets on my nerves sometimes because she's always over. I really don't think she's right for me son, either. Our tap water has a weird aftertaste, so I order gallon water bottles and use them to fill a big glass bowl with a tap. It is not cheap to get water and other groceries delivered, so I tell my sons, husband, and the girlfriend to be courteous of the other people who live here and not use up the water, as it runs out fast in our big household. Yesterday, I caught her filling up her big metal water bottle with the jug water, and I calmly told her that other people live here, too, and she shouldn't hog the water all to herself. She was rather short with me and said something along the lines of, actually, this water bottle is big enough to hold all the water someone should be drinking in a day. I'm not hogging water, I'm just trying to stay hydrated. I found her tone to be disrespectful and ordered her to leave. She scoffed and went back to my son's room. That's when I really got frustrated. I opened their door and told her she has to leave. My son got really angry with me and told me that my girlfriend didn't do anything wrong and why is it a crime for her to drink water? I explained that I ordered this water for our family to use, not leeches who hang around all day rent-free. My son's girlfriend got a little teary-eyed and left the room and out the front door without saying anything. My son told me that I was a major asshole and should have just minded my business. I think, just wasteful and a brat. AITA?
AITA for telling someone they're selfish for asking a 22-year-old to become a child's guardian? My 22F boyfriend, Malcolm, 22M, has a half-sister, Elena, 12F. They have the same dad and he's not involved in their lives. Their moms became close friends and they were raised seeing one another. Malcolm's mom moved abroad a couple of years ago. Elena's mom, Sandra, was diagnosed with cancer last year. She went through treatment but it's determined that there's nothing they can do but make her comfortable. Sandra will pass sometime this year. She has no family. Malcolm has spent a lot of time helping care for Elena, driving her to school, making them meals, etc. Recently, Malcolm sat me down. He said that Sandra asked to speak to him. She said she understood if the answer was no but asked for him to take on custody of Elena, sooner rather than later, that way she could adjust to him being her guardian before she passes. Malcolm would move in with them. Sandra had a sizable life insurance policy and an account to help him care for Elena. To my surprise, he agreed to all of this without consulting me. I pointed this out and he said we've only been together 6 months. I asked, didn't he too young for all this? He said sort of, but he'd owe it for Elena. Without further discussion, Hess subleased his apartment and moved in with Sandra and Elena. Saturday, I stopped by to pick up Malcolm for lunch. He hadn't returned from work yet, so I was waiting with Sandra. We were making small talk. She mentioned how grateful she was for Malcolm. He was a sweet boy. I asked if he was really her only option. I mentioned his mom. Sandra said Ellen ain't losing enough. She doesn't want to force her to move abroad on top of everything. She also doesn't feel right asking Malcolm's mom to move back. I said I found the whole thing a little selfish. Malcolm is only 22. He shouldn't be tied down raising a child. Sandra got defensive and said, wished she didn't have to ask him, plus he say dies. I asked what else was he supposed to say. Sandra told me I was upsetting her and asked me to leave. Malcolm called me later, screaming at me. He said that I upset Sandra. I said I was trying to defend him and point out options she may not have thought of. Malcolm told me to cut out and to get on board with this or walk away. He hasn't spoken to me since. I saw Elena at the mall on Sunday and shamed me. My mom told me I screwed up big time. AITA?
AITA for not helping my sister with her newborn twins? I am a 26F and I have a younger sister Sadie, 19F, and we don't talk often. She lives in Canada with her newborn twins, Iris and Layla. I moved to England a few years ago to study at my dream university. I ended staying there with my now husband, Lewis, 30M. Sadie got pregnant at 18 with Tyler, her boyfriend at that time. Tyler and his sister ended up in a car accident a few months after she announced she was pregnant. He and his sister didn't end up surviving the accident. Sadie was very upset during the rest of her pregnancy. My parents were luckily there to help her out. After her babies were born, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer because of all his smoking. My mom had to help my dad out a lot and didn't have as much time to help Sadie with her twins. Sadie reached out to me a few months ago and asked if we could send her some money every month so she could hire a babysitter for her kids and help my dad. Lewis and I agreed since we were financially stable and could afford it. She was very thankful to us, but a few weeks ago, she reached out again and asked if we could move back to Canada to help with the twins. This time, Lewis and I refused. I feel like it's too much. We've built a life here in England and my husband does a demanding job here and it would take him a while to find another one in Canada. My mom has sent me a few texts begging for me to come back because they could really use the help. Now, I feel kind of bad. Some info on Tyler's family. Tyler's sister is actually his half-sister. They share a dad. His sister is over a decade older than him and has raised Tyler since he was 11. His mom died while giving birth to him and their dad died of autoimmune illness. His sister's mom just wasn't in her life. AITA for telling my husband he ruined my birthday, again. Background. Today is my 28th birthday. I am really into birthdays and holidays and believe in celebrating them to the max, and this is well known to everyone. I'm also the planner and the giver, and it only my family, husband and kids, but my extended family, parents, siblings, friends, etc. So I'm the one that plans birthday get-togethers, gifts, travel, etc. I'm also a SOM due to son with complex medical and behavioral needs. I've been with him 24/7 for the last week as it's school break and he's extremely clingy and has behavioral problems due to mental illnesses. I also had upper respiratory cold during this time, sore throat, fever, cough, runny nose, earache. But kept up with mom duties nonetheless. My husband's birthday was last month and as usual I planned something for him. Weekend in a town a couple hours away for us and our kids. For my birthday I tell him I just want help with the kids, the house cleaned, a nap, and him to cook supper or take me out. Maybe a homemade gift from the kids and a cake. Yesterday, my husband starts complaining of a sore throat. I check his throat and looks fine. No or other symptoms. He stays up all night playing video games. This morning he says he is sick, but has no visible symptoms. No fever, no cough, no runny nose, doesn't sound like someone with a cold. He says his throat hurts but spent an hour on Xbox Live talking just fine. He naps all day because he says he's sick. I think it's because he stayed up until 4 a.m. playing video games. Meanwhile I make my own cake, take care of the kids as usual, and do my usual chores. He didn't even tell me happy birthday. Finally I decided to take the cake I made with the kids to my parents' house to have supper there so I didn't have to cook. I'm pretty crabby at this point and don't say a word before we leave. Calls and asks why we left. I tell him because he ruined my birthday yet again and I'm trying to salvage it at least a little and hung up. He called back and said I was overreacting. He's sick and I'm on adult. Birthdays aren't a big deal anymore after 21. So AITA for wanting one day to be the receiver instead of the giver? To celebrate myself?